Welcome to the Medicine Box. I'm your host, Ekta Batra. Today, we're diving into what can only be called a digital epidemic, India's screen time crisis amongst children. What starts as harmless exposure in infancy is now a silent emergency. Babies under the age of 2 are spending 1.2 hours a day on screens, despite the WHO recommendations of none. Kids under the age of 5 average 2.2 hours a day, double the advised limit. Post-pandemic, screen time has jumped to over 4 hours a day, often unsupervised. And it doesn't end there. 42% of kids under the age of 12 spend 2 to 4 hours daily, while teens can hit up to 10 hours a day. A local circle survey shows 60% of kids aged 9 to 17 spend over 3 hours daily on social media or gaming. Nearly 60% of kids aged 5 to 16 show signs of digital addiction. What's driving this? A changing lifestyle, nuclear families, fewer social interactions, and a growing reliance on screens as digital babysitters. Physical activity has plunged. Indian kids average just 86 minutes a week against the WHO's 420-minute recommendation. Outdoor play is 50% lower compared to previous generations. From speech delays and obesity to aggression, anxiety and social withdrawal, the impact is real and rising. So how much is too much? And how do we raise children in a digital world without risking their well-being? Joining us today, Dr. Nihar Parekh, pediatrician, and Dr. Kamna Chhibber, head of mental health at Fortis Healthcare. Welcome, doctors, to the show. Dr. Parekh, I'll start with you. You're seeing children every day. What are the red flags which have come up when it comes to screen time exposure, say when you compare it to, say, 5 to 10 years ago?
So 5 to 10 years ago, we never had that kind of addiction levels that without a particular screen, a child wouldn't do something. Screen was never a part of a day-to-day activity schedule in such a way that without that, the schedule would not exist. Now, today for a parent, when there is, or a child above a certain age, a screen has become a go-to. It's the first thing that they ask for when they come from school. They wouldn't now, they don't eat without it. They won't sit without it. Before sleeping, before any activity, it's a sort of what we call as the only form of gratification that they're now getting. And that addiction is the scary part, where they've stopped enjoying anything and everything else. And that's what's happening now.
Okay. Well, Dr. Chhibber, just wanted to narrow down on the part with regards to content as well. Because it's not just the screen, it is the content which has changed as well. There are images which change every 5 seconds, there are louder noises, it's more dopamine driven. So tell us about how exactly content is driving addiction amongst children.
See, the biggest thing is that the content is being created in a way that it really grabs the attention of the children and the adolescents. And the kind of content that is put out there often is on topics that would be exciting for the mind of the child. What also ends up happening is that because sometimes monitoring may not be available, children may end up watching content which may not be necessarily age appropriate, and that too would grab their attention, because how many times during the day would parents or adults really be available to keep on constantly keeping a watch on what exactly is the child watching? So understanding the mechanisms or the tools and strategies that are being used with content being very interactive, creative, using a lot of sounds, a lot of color, it really grabs the attention of both children and adolescents, keep them wanting to go back to it again and again, and seems to be replacing a lot of their activities which should be happening in person, outside, through even unstructured time. Those pieces keep on going missing in their interactions, in their day-to-day routines.
Children under 2, according to a lot of data in India, are watching around 80 minutes of screen time per day. The WHO recommendations, the recommendations in India itself is 0. How harmful is this exposure?
So, we live in a very practical world. So, today's day and age, when you recommend a certain things, it is considered that the recommendations are to be followed, but they are less likely to be followed. But there's this one recommendation that I sincerely request every parent to try and make it happen, is try and keep the screen time under 2 years of age in children to as close to 0 as possible. Because in these times, it's the stimulation of the brain, the neuronal connections which are being made, and if that is not being shared as eye contact with parents, as a interaction of noise and parents singing to the children, interacting with other people around, this is where the children learn how to communicate. And that is what is lacking. And research also shows that screen time under 2 years of age, if given not only skills of communication, we have digital autism in which they don't speak when expected. They're normal, but they don't because they've never learned to speak and they're never been communicated with. And number 3, because they're listening to only that voice, the recognition of the parents and other people around, also they're not empathetic as they grow. And they're more prone to have other addictions if screen time is shown within the first 2 years as they grow on later. So there are a lot of strict no's for screen time under 2 years of age.
Okay. But what are you seeing in your practice?
They all do it. So it is, what we can do is, rather than saying no, is explain them what all can go wrong. If they do it now, it's not harmless. And number 2, try and ask them to bring it down to as less as possible, number 1. Number 2, no small screens, because those are way more addicting than bigger screens. Number 3, we want interactions. Only interactions with parents, people, those are as stimulating as they can get. It is very difficult for any parent in a micro-nuclear family to not have screen. They have a gazillion errands to run in a day. They have their child not eating. They want to finish the meal quickly. They want the child to sit at one place so they can do other things. So yes, these are some pros, but again, we beg all our parents not under 2 years of age.
Yeah. Between 2 to 5, I think that's where the bigger problem is, right?
Yes.
You know, the average screen time is 2.2 hours a day. That's again double the recommended limit.
Right.
What is the impact of development at this stage? Because they can understand, they can talk back, and they do have opinions as well.
So I'll tell you what, this is the new age addiction for children. And research shows that, like you first mentioned, the word dopamine, the feel-good hormone in the brain. It is such a surge with the digital exposure and is so addicting. It's not less than any of those drugs that adults consume. So the addiction level is twofold. One, to keep doing it again and again. And second, what happens to their brain when it's not given, when it's taken away, when it's not... So we've seen 2 problems. Number 1, they're addicted. They don't do anything without it between 2 and 5. That is their time where they are behaviorally not that easy to manage. So that's the time where the parents tend, you know, the terrible twos and the temper tantrums and behavioral issues, normal. But the parents, to find an easy way out, that's the time they use the help of digital. And when they see the advantages that their life becomes easier, then they keep doing it again and again. The child gets addicted to it. The child doesn't do anything without it. The minute one fine day the parent realizes, or they come to me and say, look, this is out of hand now. And I say, you know what, a child is addicted. So there's another approach to it, going cold turkey. Now, any addiction when you want to stop, and if you try going cold turkey, we warn the parents, it's not as easy as it sounds. They say, no, we will do it. In 2 days, I get a call, he's hitting me, he's biting me, he's screaming, he's running to the neighbor's house, finding the phone. If I don't show the phone, he's taking my phone and throwing things. So you have to be prepared yourself. So I want to warn, by saying this, I just want to warn the parents that that piecemeal of screen time they're doing every day, just to keep their schedules intact, be mentally prepared. The day you think things are going overboard and you want to control it, it's not going to be easy.
Okay, but what is the impact of this screen time? I know the temper tantrums,
Correct.
but separately in terms of development.
They don't like, so it's twofold. Physical, mental, emotional. Physically, eye issues. Mentally, early posture issues. Obesity. They're stuck to the screen. They don't like going out to play. It's not as much fun. So they stay home watching the screen or the phone, and they're happy with their parents. And it's like the Pavlov's bell effect. The minute there is screen and food, the next time they see screen, the body wants food. So they keep eating even though they're not hungry because all that good content done, education, so all the screen recommendations that is recreational. WHO recommends 2 hours. That does not include your educational. So educational is fine, again under parental guidance, age appropriate. It should be okay, and I prefer the bigger screen.
And how long?
So again, I would say half an hour extra above the recommended recreational screen time, under 5, and an hour extra above the recreational screen, above 5.
Okay, all right. Well, Dr. Chhibber, you know exactly what Dr. Parekh said, that this excessive screen time results in these behavioral issues. Just tell us about what you've probably seen in your practice, and how does one practically withdraw your child from this in order to prevent those temper tantrums?
I think in a lot of situations, what we end up seeing is that the tantrums do not stay restricted only to the home. It's also that those tantrums often will appear in social settings or settings outside. When you're out, say, for instance, at a shopping complex as well, or you're out at, say, a relative's house. The understanding of those social behaviors or socially appropriate behaviors also keeps on getting compromised, and parents tend to find themselves in a very difficult situation where they feel this sense of embarrassment, and often later on it starts getting accompanied with an emotional experience of even shame at times, that, okay, why is my child responding in this way? There may be other children who are behaving differently and who are not reacting in the same way. And I think that a lot of times parents find themselves compelled to keep on repeating the same pattern, giving in to the child, inadvertently reinforcing that tantrum behavior. So what becomes extremely crucial, I feel, is that one, of course, prevention is the best policy. If you can ensure that right from an early stage, you do not give in to the screens as often or for as long a duration, that would be ideal. But if you have found yourself in a situation where screens have become a part of the child's routines, they are used for specific activities. If you're looking to withdraw them, you can't make it from 100 to 0. You will have to do it sequentially. You will need to reduce the duration. You will need to focus on one type of activity first. And what will happen is that the child will resist. They will also keep on testing your boundaries. We need to understand that that is a developmentally appropriate way of responding from the child's side as well, that they will keep on testing your boundaries to see how much they can do and how much they can get away with in a situation. So when they're doing that, you have to be firm enough to be able to wait patiently and still tolerate the tantrum of the child so that it gets shaped over a period of time.
Chhibber, while there's research has indicated there's no direct link between screen time and autism, there is this term that we're hearing about which is called virtual autism. Just take us through that, and how exactly does screen time result in this term called virtual autism?
See, I think a lot of terms get coined because we start seeing certain behaviors and patterns which are manifesting, and it becomes easy for people to communicate in a certain way. But we need to understand that the term autism has a clinical significance, and it should not be used very loosely, I feel. But what patterns we are seeing when we're looking at something like when people are talking about this virtual autism, I think the idea is to try and help individuals understand that what happens is that the child's ability to engage with people on the outside keeps on getting more and more compromised because they are developing a reliance on screens, and most of their engagement is happening on virtual platforms. So they do not necessarily always develop the ability to, say, for instance, form an eye contact. They may not know how to engage with individuals on the outside. The basic social skills that we would hope keep on developing over time sequentially as children interact with other children or even with adults around, that starts getting compromised over a period of time. And then children often also start wanting to repeatedly have that screen available to them, almost in a manner where there is a repetitive pattern to their behavior, which is getting constructed in their repertoire of responding to situations as well. So somewhere these are the aspects that we start seeing, which have then been, put together in this fabric of virtual autism, almost to indicate that It's the social communication. It's the development of skills that are needed to navigate through life, which are getting compromised. Behavioral patterns which have repetitiveness associated with them, where the child is not being able to pull themselves away from the screen, even though a parent may be trying, or they themselves are able to see that they need to be focusing on other parts. Those do not come together.
Okay. Well, Dr. Parekh, children are playing 50% less than they used to. They are either involved with screens, educational content or not, and structured classes every single day. How harmful is this drop in unstructured physical play for children?
See, obesity is on the rise. And a lot of parents don't understand that the number of fat cells in the body develop in the first 5 to 7 years of age. Now, every child who sits and spends more time in front of the screen, like I told you, it's the brain stimulated and trained in such a way that every time any screen is put in front of them, they do get hungry. Parents forget that even though the child under 5 and 7 looks thin, lean, but the more unhealthy food and the calories they consume, the number of fat cells are increasing. So when that same child who's thin and lanky hits puberty, every fat cell grows. And suddenly you will find children 10 years down the road who are right now very thin and lanky because of excessive screen time, excessive consumption of food and calories, increased number of fat cells have suddenly grown. So you've not even seen what's going to happen over the next 10 years with obesity in children. And the root cause of that is going to be giving food in front of screen. So even though screen time is given, my first request to every parent is do not give screen when they're having meals. Digital free zones in the house is one of them is meal time.
Yeah.
Bedroom, yes, but meal time is one.
But what about the fact that unstructured free play has gone down 50%?
So Ekta, you and me will have to come to live with that. Unstructured free play doesn't exist anymore. How we used to run in building gardens and parks, and this is not going to happen. So it's either you have them going down for a particular soccer class or going for gymnastics, so that unstructured play is not going to happen. So we also, the generation that has been without screen and with screen, have to now change our mindsets of what's going to happen, because these kids are coming up with zero, never ever had screen has not happened. They have been given an option from the day they were born. So we, beyond a certain point, will be nobody 20 years down the road to form these norms of this is normal, that is normal. That may be the new normal. We are just taking our past and our research where there was no screen time and basing these theories that this is what's going to happen. Maybe 20 years down the road, you and me will be the odd ones out. And all these generations communicating will be doing it the right way. So we have to open our minds, but at the same time do what's best for the child's health.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Chhibber, now just coming to the 9 to 17-year-olds, and that's where social media also makes its presence felt, because we don't have any rules in terms of banning social media. How important is it, considering that 60% of kids between 9 to 17 are actually spending 3 hours a day on social media or gaming? How harmful is it?
Substantially. And there is no way to compromise on help building this understanding that this impact on children and the negative impact on children that happens on account of the excessive exposure to social media is enormous. And I think it's important to understand why that is so. Because one, there is no regulation of what is the content that's available. Like you also rightly said that what is coming on the screens, we don't know, and how much time they're spending on the screens. We certainly know that that's way in advance. Like the screen shares, it's plus 3 hours of a day that a child, that an adolescent would be spending on that screen. And the conversations that are happening on the social media platforms often do not get controlled. They do not get monitored. Parents, adults may not always have the time to sit down and to keep on monitoring and engaging with exactly what is the content that a child is consuming. Certain information may reach them. Sometimes they may talk about it. A lot of times they may not. often the understanding for that is that, okay, there is paucity of time. There are so many different things that need to be tackled on the weekdays, on the weekends, that some of these conversations go missing. What we don't realize is that this is impacting children in multifarious ways, including leading to rising levels of aggressive conversations, aggressive communication, rise in the levels of meanness, harshness. It's not just objective trolling or bullying that is a concern. It's the level of the kind of language that gets utilized, where there is increasing desensitization to aggression and violence, which is becoming a large concern because it is impacting children's ability to be able to empathize, to be able to understand the import and the effects that their actions, that their conversations would have on others. And there is a level of carelessness which comes in how they tend to communicate or look at situations. So the kind of sensitivity we would want, the kind of compassion that we would want, that gets completely sidelined in a situation like this. And of course, it affects their sense of self, their self-esteem, their body image, their feelings of worth. It takes away from a lot of times the sense of positivity that children may have, because the content they're consuming does not often get monitored, and they may be interpreting it without fully understanding why was the media message constructed, who constructed it, could there be another way to look at it. And you cannot monitor everything, and a child may not always come and ask you about everything, which is the challenge, which is largely there in front of all of us.
Okay, Dr. Parekh, what is the harmful impact of social media on children? It reminds me of, the recent television series, Adolescence. But is it that serious a concern in terms of what's taking place when it comes to social media amongst this age group which can access it, understand it?
So I've been through teenage daughters in the house, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult for them. It's very difficult for us. I mean, the big tech plays a major role in their life. Their entire universe is about this. Their entire self, like Doctor said, Chhibber, that this entire self-worth sense comes from what people think about them on the social media and what they're talking about them. So it's very fragile. One bad comment, one dislike, one odd little statement, and some fake profiles can break a child emotionally, physically, mentally. But this is the new truth. Beyond a certain point, a parent, a teenage or preteen has to go through this. Because if you shield them, there's going to be one fine day where they jump into this and they don't know how to handle it, and they will break.
But how do you shield them?
So there is shielding in the way of parental tools, of maintaining guides and locks and this. But bigger tool is opening up lines of communication between your child, physical communication. Befriend them, don't begrudge or push them away from social media, because they are going to be on it no matter what. Tell them, look, you're on it, you're on this, you're gaming, you're chatting with people, but I want you to tell me, even in the middle of the night, if this come knock on my door, and I will listen to you. When they have that confidence, there are lesser chances of them being down the rabbit hole and being really traumatized, because if that were there, you will reach a point where everything's gone wrong, and at the end of the day, your child will come and say, all this has happened. It's too late.
Do you think it derails ambition?
Significantly, if the child... I always tell my daughters that being successful at our time was way easier than now because of two things. Number one, huge amount of distraction by social media. And number two, the huge number of options they have. It's very simple. Every third teenager on social media is a multimillionaire. We did a quick survey in my clinic for 300 children between the age of 10 and 13. And we asked them, what do you want to do when you grow up? 87% of them had only one answer: I want to be rich. They didn't say, I want to become a doctor. They didn't say, I want to become an engineer. They didn't say, I want to take up my farm. I want to be rich. Now, where does that come from? That comes from social media. When they see kids of their age driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris, these gaming consoles, the people who play games, they had a recent function, and all of them came in Porsches and Lambos. They're 18-year-olds. So when they see that, Their sense of achievement needs to be fast, needs to be quick. And what is the percentage of that happening for them? Less than 0.001%. So what happens to the 99.99%? They get dejected. They feel like a failure. They're depressed. They never reach the goals, not set by them or their parents, but by these social influencers. Okay. So it's very difficult now for a child to maintain focus, pick a stream, and keep doing it because nothing's easy. What is happening is the minute they don't do well, they want to change. The minute this doesn't work, that's not how careers are made. Yeah. So it's very difficult for them, and I empathize.
Okay, well, we just have a couple of viewer questions, and I just request your answers to be brief for this. Dr. Chhibber, can social media addiction be medically diagnosed?
Currently, no. It is something which is being explored more at a research and clinical level at the moment. From a diagnostic standpoint, social media addiction is not a diagnosable condition at this moment. What is also actively being considered is online gaming or internet gaming. As a behavioral addiction, which is also somewhere related to social media usage amongst individuals.
Dr. Parekh, what are the signs that one needs to watch out for?
Like any depression, any childhood depression, staying away from people, preferring to be alone, locking themselves up, not crying, or what we call as emotional fragility, where they cry or get aggressive at a drop of a hat, very emotionally unstable, not wanting, either eating a lot or eating nothing at all, either not sleeping at all or sleeping a lot. So these are early red flags that every parent should look out for, sudden changes in behavior.
For the younger lot, can the screen be in the background?
Yeah, I mean, medically, if you're talking from the radiation or rays point of view, there's...
Just the viewing point of view?
Not that harmful currently.
Okay, all right. Dr. Chhibber, can screen time, what is the right way to get your child off the screen? What is a practical middle path that you can probably look at?
I think one, don't start with a no, but instead talk about the boundaries that you could be drawing. So you need to sit down and have conversations to be able to come to a mutual decision, which is something which would be far more implementable, especially if you're looking at a slightly older child who will have will and willfulness in at that age or stage of their life. I think that is one aspect. Second is that you would have to do it with them. So you cannot expect the child to be able to implement whatever rules or boundaries you're talking about on their own. Third part is then if you are telling them to do something, you also need to be modeling the right kind of behavior yourselves. I think that is an extremely crucial part. A lot of times we talk about language, we talk about, how much content is being consumed, but we don't necessarily reflect the same in our own actions. And that, of course, completely compromises whatever you're telling your child because they are not going to be able to, follow that. So I think even if we can just look at these three pieces, it would make a huge difference. And I think slowly, steadily, one behavior or one aspect at a time, if you address an issue, it is far more easy to resolve instead of saying a blanket, no more phones or no more devices. That would not necessarily work.
Dr. Parekh, last question for the show. Is social media an addiction that you would possibly compare to, say, sugar, drugs, etc.? Or not even social media, screens?
It is. I would say as much as drugs. It has the same effect on the brain that any feel-good drug does. Sugar is not that bad, but screen and drugs, yes, it is as addicting. And why just the children? We can hardly keep our fingers away from the phone. So you can imagine the impact on them. And we are very aware of where we are and what we're supposed to do, what we're not. I see couples having dinner one-on-one and both are on their phones. So...
It's a global epidemic across ages.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Chhibber as well as Dr. Parekh, thank you very much for joining in and speaking with us on the Medicine Box on a topic which is extremely pertinent and only growing in terms of concern. Thanks very much.
Thank you.